After Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, a horde of Trump allies rose up to defend his total lack of honor. They declared that they are going to get him back in the White House. And the way that they're gonna do that is they're gonna prove that the election was stolen. And the way that they're gonna do that is take millions of dollars from conservatives who don't have the money to give, but will willingly impoverish themselves in pursuit of making Donald Trump president again. Now, obviously, none of that happened. He did not get returned to the White House. They did not provide evidence of election subversion or anything like that. But for many of the people who went on this quest, it's actually worse than just failure. Because for them, they didn't just fail in their mission to prove the election was stolen. They failed in their ultimate mission to grift. The money has dried up. And so they're gonna have to find something else, get a real job or something, I don't know. So what we're gonna do here is do a little bit of a where are they now for some of the main, most influential, at least at one point, foot soldiers of the big lie. And spoiler alert, the updates are not good for almost any of them. So we're gonna start with Brad Parscale, who founded an organization called American Greatness. So that was a network of different smaller pro-Trump election integrity groups way back in 2021 in the wake of the 2020 election. If you don't remember him, here is a little reminder of who he was, at least at one point. You can see him being tackled to the ground by cops. It doesn't have much to do with the election stuff. I just enjoy the footage. Obviously, not a fan of police brutality or whatever, but if it's gonna be to someone. Anyway, there he is being detained due to his wife's concern, and I'm not joking that he might harm himself after Donald Trump lost the election.
Before we continue with the story, we depend on members to keep on going. Don't wait, click join now on YouTube.
I don't want anyone to harm themselves over literally anything, but the idea that you would do that because Donald Trump didn't win re-election, that is rough. So it's a guy who obviously has some issues or whatever. And one of those issues more recently is in the financial area because American Greatness isn't quite as great as it once was. The nonprofit headed into 2023 with only about $195,000 on hand. A year earlier, they'd raised $550,000. They spent all but about $50,000 of it. They had apparently gotten a ton from this guy, Tim Dunn, a billionaire in oil and gas. And they spent it on consultants and they spent it in pursuit of their investigation. They notably did not put it into supporting pro-Trump candidates or anything. And that's sort of a constant across all of these organizations. And look, for some of you, you might think, well, they did raise a good amount of money at one point, sure. And they wasted it. I mean, I guess they handed it out to other pro-Trump consultants. It worked out for them, but now they're left with almost nothing. They didn't prove what they tried to prove. All of that money that could have gone to supporting the actual MAGA movement and expanding their numbers in Congress, instead it just went to a bunch of grifters. So hardly a big victory for American Greatness or Brad Parscale. What do you think, Sharon?
Yeah, and then the ability to replenish, it sounds like they got it all from one billionaire, maybe a few donors there. They don't even have that. The credibility, what they had anyway, that shot too. I think it's kind of like, I wonder when you say these Trump MAGA consultants, are these just people who take the money and they know, I mean, come on, they know that they're just like the lawyers who took on the cases to prove fraud, voter fraud. They knew they're gonna take the money, but this isn't going anywhere, but I'll file some things for you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. And it's possible that some of that money was, disappeared into an account somewhere. It's possible. I can't, I can't prove it, but I also can't disprove it. In any event, American Greatness eventually changed to the Jefferson Rising Fund. Okay, now how did it do once it changed? Well, it entered 2024 with about $123,000 on hand. Through the course of 2023, it raised $176, not thousand, not million, $176. And I assume that it costs more just in terms of tax compliance for the fact that you raised any money than the money that you actually raised. That is, I've literally never seen anything like that before. But I don't want to focus too much on Brad Parscale. I don't want to mess with him. He seems like a guy who could be set off pretty easily. So let's turn to the Election Integrity Network, founded by Cleta Mitchell, which also had some trouble with finances. It raised over $753,000 in 2022 and spent almost every single one of those dollars. So they had less than $25,000 by 2023. Eventually down to $6,200 in net assets that they could actually use. And so that money has largely dried up as well. Along the way, there are some other former Trump campaign aide, Katrina Pearson, who used to be on Fox News a whole bunch and now is like largely disappeared into the ether. I think, look, the reason that the money has dried up, I think is partially that, despite the fact that most conservatives, if you ask them, will still pretend that they think that Trump won. I think that the enthusiasm, the belief that wrong is going to be right, it is largely gone. But also Donald Trump he soaks up almost all of that money. There's really not a lot left for these other organizations. And even the election stuff has largely been superseded by his legal concerns. Sure, he'd love to overturn the results of the election, but the dude owes $500 million, and that's gonna make it really hard for some of the grifters that would love to sort of like swim in his wake, so to speak. Any other thoughts, Sharon?
Yeah, and even the people who can afford it the least, who give a little bit here, a little bit there. It's just so unfortunate that this is what their money's going to. My hope is that a lot of them are waking up. And even though they still may be part of, MAGA world, maybe they're saying, I didn't particularly care for the way this money was spent. So I'll wait until it's earmarked only for this. It's just unfortunate that this is a lot of money. Where is it?
So much money.
Who got it?
Imagine if it just gone to like paying medical debt or something, or buying books for kids, anything, literally. It would be a better use of money than just setting it on fire in this way.